Hey guys, welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about 7 things that might surprise you if you're buying a house here in South Florida. Hey everybody, it's Rob Zeoli, real estate agent right here in South Florida. And the first thing on the list is basements, or really, where are the basements? Well, there are none. Here in South Florida, we do not have basements. Now, if you lived here for a certain amount of time, you kind of get used to it, but people that are moving here are relocating. A lot of them coming from the Northeast are used to having basements, and it's really a huge negative not having one. There's so many things you can do with a basement. Now, I remember growing up in New York, my grandparents' house, my parents' house, everybody that I knew, we all had basements. It was just a huge part of life. You spend so much time down there. It's a good place for parents to get the kids out of the main house. You take your friends downstairs and hang out, play cards, you can work out. A lot of us had gyms down there. A lot of us actually finished the basements and you could use it as extra living space. I remember I remodeled my mom's basement when I was like 18 years old. I only lived down there for about 6 months, and she was able, after I left, to rent it out for decades. So a lot of benefits to having a basement. Now, the issue here in the South with having a basement is that the groundwater is so close to the surface, proximity to the ocean, and with the high water table, it's really impossible to dig out for a basement. Now, this is really the same reason why you don't see many tunnels here in Florida. Now, South Florida has 2 tunnels. There's one that goes underground in Miami, which alleviates a lot of the traffic going in and out of downtown, and the other one goes under the New River Canal in Fort Lauderdale. That replaced a drawbridge that was there way back, many decades ago. That bridge was very slow. It took about 45 minutes once it went up to come down to get people across, was causing all sorts of traffic jams in downtown, so they replaced that with a tunnel. But other than that, you don't see many of them. Elon Musk, I did a video about this, is talking about making a tunnel going underground from downtown Fort Lauderdale, the Los Olas area, to the beach and back. So that's been in talks for a while, but no basements here in South Florida. Now, the next thing on the list are attics. Now, we do have attics here in South Florida, but it's not like the attics from what I remember back in the Northeast. You really can't do much with the attics here other than store a couple of small items. But back in New York, the Northeast, a lot of areas throughout the country have these huge attics. We don't have much attic space, so there's not many places to store anything. New York, I remember we were able to stand up in our attics, so you can do so much. If you finish it off as like another bonus room, and you could store just about anything up there. We have not much attic space here in South Florida to do any sort of storage. You could basically, fit a few things right around the attic hatch. There are some homes that have, attic space where you have a lot more room, but by and large, most of the homes don't have a lot of attic space, so that's another negative. And this is why a lot of people use the garage. It's the only place you can really use for storage here. A lot of people that I know don't use the garage to park in. It's really basically for storage. Most people park in their driveways, so no basements and very little attic space here in South Florida. Now, the next thing, number 3, guys, is the lack of new construction. So one of the biggest wants from people relocating here is they want to try to find something new or newer, and they're kind of upset or a little surprised that we don't have very much in terms of new construction. Now, here in Miami, Broward County, there's basically nothing. You might find a couple of one-off neighborhoods with a small amount of homes. Parkland is the only area that I know of that they're actually making like full subdivisions, but there's almost built out there. You're gonna have to go up north, Lake Worth, up to Port St. Lucie, where they're building everywhere. But as far as new construction, anywhere in the Miami metro area, which is Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach, it's really not much to find as far as new construction. So that's another thing that surprises a lot of people that are buying. Now, as far as the average age, it's kind of hard to determine, but the homes are older as you start over on the East Coast by the beach, and they get newer as you go west. There's some that are built, in the early 1900s, but the average home that I'm used to working with as far as people buying or selling, they're going to be anywhere from the early 70s up to, the mid 1990s, early 2000s. That's kind of like the range. but not much new construction here in South Florida. Now, if there's a bit of good news as far as the construction here in South Florida, the homes the majority of them are built with concrete blocks, so they last forever. You don't find many wood frame homes. There are some, but not many. So they last forever. Two-story homes, a lot of times the second story will be wood frame, but by and large, most of the homes are built with concrete block and they last forever, so that's the good news. Now, number 4 on the list, guys, are sidewalks. Where are they? There's not many sidewalks here in South Florida. If you really look by and large through a lot of the neighborhoods, they don't exist. You're going to have a couple of neighborhoods that do have them, but they're not continuous sidewalks that go through the whole neighborhood. They'll start and stop, but most of the neighborhoods don't have any. A lot of the main roads that go, University Drive, Pine Island, Broward, Sunrise Boulevard, all the main thoroughfares through any of the cities throughout South Florida will have sidewalks. But as far as the residential neighborhoods, most of them don't have them. Now, I've heard differing reasons why that is. One is that Florida is not a very walkable area, which is true. So unless you're walking around your neighborhood for a late night walk or something like that, you're really not going to be walking anywhere unless you live close to downtown or one of the city centers. So I heard that's one of the reasons. Another reason I heard is for drainage. You also don't see any curbs. What we do have are called swales. Now, you'll find swales in grassy areas alongside sidewalks and streets, but you're also going to find them near parking lots, next to long driveways, and near heavily paved surfaces. So swales are designed to provide water quality treatment naturally to reduce pollution and also to control flooding during storm events. Now, number 5 on the list, and this question comes up a lot when people are purchasing homes, is do I need an attorney? And the answer is no. Florida is not an attorney state. It is a title company state when it comes to real estate transactions. So Florida law does not require buyers and sellers to hire real estate attorneys to do a real estate transaction. So a title company is going to investigate for the buyer to uncover any potential defects in the title. These can be liens, any sort of a judgment against the property, any defect in prior deeds, issues like easements, encumbrances, and much more. Now, also, if there's any sort of a hidden defect in the title that the title company does not uncover, they're going to provide you what's called title insurance, which is going to protect you and the lender in the event that some sort of an issue related to the title comes up after the closing. Now, as a buyer or seller, you are welcome to hire your own attorney to assist you in the closing. Now, I've been doing this since 2005, and I've only been involved in a handful of transactions where someone actually had their own attorney. So you're welcome to hire one. I don't know what the cost is. It's probably on par with the title company charges, which is about $700 per transaction for the title work. So it's up to you to hire an attorney, but by and large, most of the transactions here in South Florida are not done with attorneys. They're done through title companies. Now, number 6 on the list, guys, is that there are no bargains to be had at this time in this market. So a lot of people reaching out are looking for some sort of a bargain. They might be hearing about the market shifting or crashing or whatever you hear on the media or you watch on YouTube, but they do not exist at this time here in South Florida. Maybe some other areas throughout the country. There's not many of them, unfortunately. Even with interest rates going higher and higher every day and prices still rising, there are not many bargains at all because there's not many homes for sale. Inventory is extremely low, historically low. So anytime a home goes on the market, there are multiple buyers that are bidding on the property. So very, very hard to find a distressed property or a distressed seller. Any opportunity like that where you think you can get a bargain, they just don't exist at this time. Another question I get is, Robert, I see a lot of homes that are sitting on the market for a long time and you're telling me there's no bargains. Well, there's a reason for that. The seller is just not motivated to sell. They're pricing it way too high as compared to other homes that are selling, and they're just not reasonable. They probably don't have any real moving plans or are in no rush, so they're trying to win the lottery and get whatever they think they can get or would like to get for a property, but they're not getting it. That doesn't mean it's a bargain. It just means that it's overpriced. So that's a different story than finding a bargain, something that is under market. Maybe if you're looking for a home or you find a home that is severely damaged or needs a total rehab, something like that, and they're not easy to find either. We have a lot of investors down here in South Florida that buy these properties and fix them up and sell them, and they're selling for top dollar anyway. So looking for any sort of a bargain right now is trying to find a needle in a haystack, unfortunately. Let's see if anything changes anytime in the near future. And number 7 in the list, guys, has to be how easy it is to commute here in South Florida. So this is another thing that people don't realize, or they're really surprised when they're buying here and they're looking for an area and they're trying to figure out how their commute is. So the area is not very big. Let's just take the greater Fort Lauderdale area, which is Broward County. The entire area is about 28 miles east and west and 28 miles north and south. So you can get from one end of the county to the other in probably 30, 40 minutes. So it's really not that bad commuting anywhere throughout the county. Going to Miami might be a little bit different, but it's still not as bad as a lot of these other big metros. Orlando, much worse traffic. New York, way worse traffic. California, way worse. A lot of these other areas are way, way worse than Florida. I know I talk about traffic and congestion in a lot of my videos because it's getting worse than it ever has been, but you cannot compare it to any of these other areas. I challenge you, if you're in New York, to jump on the Cross Bronx Expressway. And if you know what I'm talking about or live there, you know what I'm talking about. That is probably the worst stretch of highway ever, in my opinion. But not that bad here in South Florida. Plus, things are not too far away. So the commute is pretty easy for a lot of people. And they're pleasantly surprised once they find this out. Now, a side note to that, I'm talking about commuting by car. Commuting by public transportation is a totally different story. If we're talking about that, I would say Florida stinks. Doesn't compare to New York or any of the other metros like I mentioned, Chicago. We don't have a subway system like that, or public transportation. We do have it, but it's not efficient like that. So if you're commuting with public transportation, it's going to be a little bit tougher. But by car, a lot of buyers are pleasantly surprised when they find out how easy it is to get around here in South Florida. All right, guys, thank you so much for making it to the end and watching the video. 7 things that surprise a lot of people buying a house here in South Florida. Hopefully you got something from this video. If you have any questions about South Florida, need any help selling, you're looking to relocate to the area, I would love to be your real estate resource of choice. All you got to do is reach out. You can get me at the information below. Send me a text, give me a call. I'd love to talk to you and help you get the process started. And I'll see you all on the next video. Take care.